Ну що, давайте
Dear
розпочинати.
friends,
Доброго дня,
let's
шановні
get started.
учасники
Good
та
day,
гості.
everyone,
Вітаю
dear
вас на
participants and
спеціальному
dear guests.
міжнародному
Welcome
онлайн-заході,
to the
присвяченому
international
Міжнародному дню
event
демократії.
dedicated
Мене
to
звати Олена Костенюк, і
International
сьогодні
Day
я
of
буду модератором
Democracy.
цього заходу,
My
який
name is
об'єднав
Olena
наших друзів
Kostenyuk, and
та
I'll be
партнерів з різних
moderating
країн,
this
які
event
щиро
today.
підтримують
This
Україну
event
в
has
цей
brought
надзвичайно
together
нелегкий
our
для нас
friends and
час.
partners
Ваша
from
допомога та
all over
солідарність
the
є для
world.
нас
It
безцінними.
is
І ми щиро
crucial
вдячні вам за те, що ви
to
сьогодні з нами та
get
поділитеся дуже
your
цінним досвідом
support.
та найкращими
And today,
практиками
our
парламентської просвіти.
colleagues and
І зараз
partners
я з
are
радістю
going to
хочу
share
представити
with us
нашу першу
their
спікерку для
best
відкриття
practices
нашого
and
сьогоднішнього заходу,
their
яка звернеться до
insights.
нас у форматі
And now
відеозвернення.
I have
Тож, будь ласка, і
pleasure
це
to
спікерка Верховної
give
Ради
floor
України
to Miss
Олена
Olena
Кондратюк.
Kondratyuk, Vice Speaker of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine. She will greet participants in the video format.
Шановні колеги, учасники та учасниці презентації. Рада привітати вас з нагоди Міжнародного дня демократії, який щорічно відзначається у всьому світі 15 вересня. Україна – демократична європейська держава. Ми маємо давні традиції парламентаризму. Саме Верховна Рада, як представницький орган всього українського народу, приймала найбільш відповідальні та визначальні для нашої країни рішення. Сьогодні українці відстоюють не лише свободу, незалежність і територіальну цілісність своєї держави. Наші захисники і захисниці стоять на варті демократії. Адже війна, яку Росія веде проти України, це війна проти всього вільного світу. Демократія, парламентаризм, народовладдя – дуже важливі для українців і для мене особисто цінності. Проте з ними не народжуються. Їх пізнають та передають наступним поколінням через освіту і просвіту. Саме з цією метою у 2019 році при Верховній Раді було створено освітній центр. За підтримки наших міжнародних партнерів, освітній центр успішно впроваджує кращі світові практики парламентської просвіти. За 5 років діяльності проведено 800 заходів. До них долучилося понад 400 тисяч учасників. Освітній центр не припиняв роботу навіть в умовах повномасштабного вторгнення Росії. Ми разом з дітьми започаткували малюнкову дипломатію. Активно працюємо в регіонах у виїзному форматі. Проводили рекордні парламентські онлайн-уроки. Я особисто брала участь в такому заході до Дня Європи. Він об'єднав понад 50 тисяч учасників – школярів, студентів, вчителів. Сьогодні буде презентовано результати аналітичного огляду взаємодії парламентів 10 країн світу з дітьми та молоддю щодо впровадження парламентської просвіти. Це дуже важливе дослідження. З нами також присутні представники освітніх центрів парламентів Сполучених Штатів Америки, Великобританії, Австрії. Щиро вдячні колегам за плідну співпрацю, стажування та обмін цінним досвідом. Зокрема, у таких напрямках, як парламентські амбасадори, майстерні демократії, інтерактивна просвіта. Наш освітній центр також напрацював унікальне портфоліо знань, досвіду, форматів і практик. Ми вже можемо сміливо ділитися своїми напрацюваннями з багатьма іншими парламентами. Переконана, від такої співпраці виграють всі, тому що в нас одна спільна мета – щоб наші діти знали і розуміли, що таке парламент і як він працює, щоб вони могли чітко відрізнити добро, яке йде поряд з демократією, від зла і тиранії. Дякую всім, хто займається парламентською просвітою. Бажаю успіхів та натхнення.
Thank you, Miss Vice Speaker of the Parliament of Ukraine. I'm sure our event today will be exciting and very important. At this point, I would like to give floor to Mr. Alexander Piskun from the USAID mission to Ukraine. Hello, it's a great pleasure for me to welcome you and happy to welcome Vice Speaker of the Parliament of Ukraine, Ms. Olena Kondratyuk, and the staff members of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine Secretariat. And it's a great pleasure for me to welcome young people who have gathered here today to discuss important topics dedicated to the international Day of Democracy. Since the outbreak of the full-scale Russian invasion, but essentially since the very beginning of the Russian war against Ukraine, launched in 2014, Ukraine withstood all the pressures and ensured its democratic development thanks to resilience of institutions across the country, including at the local and regional level. However, the aggressor state is aimed at undermining Ukrainian institutions through dissemination of misinformation in particular and propaganda campaign materials, and it is crucial to ensure that citizens of Ukraine understand, including citizens that are present on this call, citizens of Ukraine realize that democracy is not made of walls and bricks, of parliamentary buildings and other government buildings. Democracy is about values and inner transformations, and that is why we are holding this event today to discuss parliamentary civic education and the transformations it offers and entails. And it is very important for the young generation to develop skills and knowledge to be able to support a strong democracy that is able to resist the Russian enemy and ensure post-war recovery and prosperity. The educational center of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine plays a crucial role in consolidating efforts in the field of parliamentary civic education. We are very proud that the United States Agency for International Development has partnered with the Verkhovna Rada to support the educational center. We conducted a lot of events and activities in uh, many regions of Ukraine. One young Ukrainian, Katerina, is only one example of commitment and dedication to Ukraine and its development. Katerina was graduating on the eve of graduation from high school when the Russian invasion, full-scale invasion began. She was forced to flee Ukraine and to go abroad. However, she participated in many online events organized by the Educational Center of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine. Later on, Katerina returned to Ukraine and now she is a student of the university and she pursues her education and her career that was to great extent shaped up by the activities of the educational center. And the story of this young lady shows that the activities of the educational center are not about delivering courses, but also about supporting the Ukrainian nation, citizens of different backgrounds and age groups. We are doing utmost through the activities of the educational center to assist the Ukrainian people while making democracy in Ukraine so strong that nothing can undermine it. Happy to welcome you all to this event, and I would like to wish you successful event and glory to Ukraine, glory to heroes. Uh, I would like to give floor to Morten Enberg, Director of USAID RADA Next Generation Program. This program has been always supporting the educational center. Hello, Today's event has brought together representatives of the Ukrainian parliament, members of parliament, Ukrainian youth, and representatives of the US Congress, UK Parliament, and the Austrian Parliament, and the other institutions and organizations. Young people play a crucial role in developing Ukraine. In democratic countries, the parliament is the highest form and format of discussing vitally important societal events and concerns. The role of youth in advancing democracy is immense. Interparliamentary Union believes that the gap in representation of youth in the political life is one of the major stumbling points and obstacles to the development of democracy. The future of every country depends on its youth, and the role of young people in social process in every country is very essential. The voice of young people should be heard, and the opinion of young people matters, especially while Ukraine is fighting for its future. The program USAID RADA, the next generation, has been actively supporting the educational center of Ukraine because educational center helps the citizens raise awareness about the activities of the parliament and engage youth to interaction with the parliament. At the same time, it serves the purpose of increasing confidence of Ukrainian citizens in the parliament. The program has supported the study visits of MPs and representatives of the parliament, parliamentary staff to various other institutions in Ukraine and beyond. We would like to express our gratitude for supporting we would like to express our gratitude to the USAID for supporting reforms in Ukraine, including civic education efforts. Will continue to provide assistance and support to Ukraine to reform the Ukrainian parliament. Glory to Ukraine, glory to heroes. Thank you very much, Mr. Morton, and thank you for your brilliant Ukrainian language. Appreciate it so much. And at this point, I suggest we proceed with the first session within our event. Participants from different countries of the world are ready to share their experience with us. And the first speaker will be Faye Ott, Acting Director General of the U.S. Congressional Visitor Center. Over to you, Ms. Faye.
Тож, пані Фей, будь ласка, до слова.
Good morning. I'm delighted to be here today and to see such a full room of people participating. This is very exciting. I'm Faye Ott. I'm the Acting Chief Executive Officer here at the Capitol Visitor Center. And here with me today is Carol Beebe. She is our Director of Exhibits and Education. And I have a meeting that I'm going to be hopping off for. So Carol Beebe is here to take over. Her portfolio includes all of these educational programs, so she'll be able to tell you about them and answer any questions you might have. We are delighted with our collaborative efforts with Ukraine and our educational programs. It's been a wonderful collaboration. The CVC opened in December 2008, and as such, our educational programs have continued to grow throughout that time. Since we've opened, we've welcomed more than 29 million visitors, and it is just growing. And of course, most of those visitors are coming in to to tour our facilities and to learn about the Capitol and the art and architecture. Some of them like to view that, but our educational programs have just enhanced all of that. So this morning, I am going to turn it over to Carol Beebe from the beginning, so as to not interrupt the program that we have prepared slides for you. And we're going to start off with telling you about our on-site student programs. So with that, Carol.
Thank you, Faye. And thank you again to Elena and her colleagues for inviting us to participate in this event. I want to tell you a little bit about the range of programs that we offer to our visitors here at the United States Capitol Visitor Center. All right. The CVC's initial on-site student programs are a major category of our educational program offerings. Our initial programs were created for our core audience of 13-year-olds who visit the United States Capitol in very large numbers. We first started our student programs on site in 2012, and they have evolved into a series of tested and successful offerings every student season. Currently, we offer 3 different on-site student programs, each of which combines a classroom session with a tour of the United States Capitol. The 3 programs are the debates of the Constitutional Convention of 1787, which analyzes the plans, debates, and compromises forged during the creation of the United States government and is offered to middle and high school students. Our second program that we offer is Vote, which gives students the opportunity to experience what it is like to be a member of Congress. Students examine both sides of an issue, take a stand, vote on that issue, and then discuss the impact with their classmates. The issue chosen is based on historical legislation that was considered on and voted on in Congress. This program is available for middle and high school students. What is the Capitol is an in-person question and answer session with an education specialist about the function, history, architecture, and art of the U.S. Capitol. We have versions of this program available to suit all elementary or middle school students. During the pandemic, we created online versions of our existing student programs. These programs were facilitated by our staff from their homes. We learned a few key things during this process. We learned the importance of using strong visuals of our original documents, photographs and video from the archives and the Library of Congress to move the story along for our participants. Our online audience has a notably short attention span, so we narrowed our focus and concentrated our resources on 1 or 2 essential goals. We applied what we learned going virtual to improve our on-site presentations as well once we reopened to the public. Our online programs enabled us to reach a wider geographic range of students, both inside the United States and worldwide. Our online student programs attracted a younger audience to the U.S. Capitol, one that typically would not travel for a classroom visit from distant areas of the country. Therefore, we created new on-site and online versions of our student programs for these younger students who started to visit the U.S. Capitol. These younger students, typically 7-year-olds, enjoyed programs that were derived from our existing programs. We adapted this content for our younger audiences, focusing more on the Capitol building and less on how the government functions. We present program concepts in simple language, and we shortened the length of these programs or program segments to align with our audience's attention spans. Also during the pandemic, we engaged contractors to help us expand our online educational resources in new ways. The resources that we offer cover varied topics for different target audiences and different learning styles. Our offerings include such programs as a rotunda 360-degree virtual look at this important space in the U.S. Capitol building, but from the perspective of or investigating the artwork that highlights Indigenous peoples living in the United States. These resources allow us to extend our reach to our visitors at any time and in any place. Our on-site teacher workshops that we offer are themed to our special exhibitions that are on view at any moment. Listening to our audience of teachers about the changes that they have had to adapt to during the pandemic, we create different types of content for them to use. In the past, we used to create full-scale lesson plans that went through an entire lesson, and student and teachers could adapt to a lesson that would last about 45 minutes. In speaking with our audience of teachers through these teacher workshops and through conferences and surveys after programs, we learned that what they were doing with those resources was pulling them apart to find the nuggets in them that would work with their own lesson plans. And this information is going to influence our future efforts to change what we offer for our teaching audience so that what we provide to them will be more useful and easily adaptable. We have offered many on-site teacher professional development programs over the years, and we will be holding our second online virtual teacher workshop later this year. An element of our on-site exhibition space is what we call the Democracy Lab. This is a hands-on educational space that, when it is not being used for a scheduled student program, is open to all of our visitors to experience and explore on their own. This space offers 6 different hands-on activities, and it's especially geared towards families and younger visitors. Our visitors in this space may engage in activities that give them a sense of what it might be like to be a member of Congress and how they can make decisions that a member might have to make. In addition to our offerings for students, for teachers, for families, we also present a variety of programs for our visitors of all ages and from all places. People visit the Capitol for many different reasons, and our goal is to help all of them see a place for themselves here. We give them opportunities to learn more and to have fun while doing so. I hope that you will take a look at our website for a closer look at what we offer for our visitors, and that when you are fortunate to visit the United States, that you come by and say hello. Thank you.
Дякуємо вам. Надзвичайно вражаючі цифри.
Yeah.
Я до сих пір
I
не
am
можу
really
оговтатися від
impressed.
29
28 million visitors.
відвідувачів.
It's
Це
unbelievable.
надзвичайно.
Thank you,
Дякуємо нашим
our
американським
partners,
колегам і
our
партнерам.
colleagues, and
Та й
our friends.
чого ж там
Thank you
казати,
for
друзям,
sharing your
за сьогоднішню
extremely
презентацію. Ви теж
valuable
поділилися своїм
and
досвідом. Це
precious
надзвичайно цінно і
experience
насправді це
with us.
вражаюче.
And
А
now
ми переходимо
we
далі і
give
з
floor
великим
to
задоволенням хочу запросити до слова Емму Роллинс, програмного менеджера освітнього центру
colleague
парламенту Великої
from the
Британії. Великобританія
Parliament
є
of the
нашим
UK,
давнім другом,
and
і саме
thanks
їхній
to
досвід
your
допомагає нам розвивати
experience, we
власні
can develop
освітні
our own
ініціативи. Еммо,
educational
будь ласка.
initiatives. Over to you.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I hope you can all hear me. Hello, thank you so much for having me. I hope you can all hear me. My name is Emma Rowlands. I'm the Education Centre Programme Manager here at UK Parliament. So I'm calling you from one of our workshop spaces today. So you'll see behind me, it looks very similar to inside our House of Commons. I'm just going to make sure I'm sharing my screen. Get my PowerPoint up. The Education Centre programme here has been running for quite a long time, but in this building, we have been running out of here since 2015. Our Education Centre programme welcomes children and young people from all over the United Kingdom. That includes England, Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland. And in fact, our furthest school travelled 547 miles to come and visit us, as we see lots of young people from across the United Kingdom. Our Education Centre is just one part of our education programme here at the UK Parliament. As you can see, we are made up of lots of different parts here. We've got our education centre, which I'll tell you a little bit more about, our outreach team who go out and about into the communities, and our staff members of the UK Parliament team who live in the areas across the United Kingdom and go and meet in schools and teach them a little bit more about how UK Parliament works and how they can get involved. We also have a teacher training community as well. And every year, twice a year, we invite 140 teachers from across the United Kingdom to take part in that programme. Each teacher comes up with their own portfolio of ideas of how they can share what UK Parliament is and how it is run. We also have a teacher network, which reaches around about 1 million children each year, telling them about the work of UK Parliament. We have a campaigns team here as well, whose largest campaign is UK Parliament Week there. I've just put some statistics on the page for you. So 1.6 million children and young people take part in UK Parliament Week every year. It's our biggest engagement programme, and all 650 UK constituencies take part, which is an amazing feat. Last year, we had 591 of our 650 members of Parliament engage in that work as well. We also have a Learn with the Lords programme, which is part of our second house. Lords and Baronesses go virtually into schools, and this is the core part of our digital programming that we have here. They can ask questions of their Lords and Baronesses that they meet, and they talk about with young people what their job kind of entails and what they do in a day-to-day way here at UK Parliament. Our business support team help us do all our bookings as well, which makes sure that the education centre here can run. The education centre here is run by 29 members of staff. There are 5 of us part of the management team, and we have 25 facilitators who run our workshops and tours every day. The education centre here is inclusive of ages 7 to 18, and we're inclusive to children and young people with special educational needs and disabilities as well. We have specialist days that they can come to, as well as come as part of our core programme. The 2 key aspects that we want everyone to leave Parliament knowing what it is about and how it works, but also how they can be involved in UK Parliament as young people and beyond as adults as well. So I'm just going to talk you through some of our programme and what we tell our young people about UK Parliament when they come to visit. When they come to visit, most people coming to UK Parliament take part in a tour. Well, all of our young people do. They take part in a tour of the Palace of Westminster, which is where UK Parliament sits. And they go in and they see either the Houses of Parliament as it is with nobody in it, or as a working building with MPs, members of Parliament, and Lords and Baronesses taking part in debates. They then come back to our education centre, and we take them through 3 workshops that are designed around what age group they are. For our primary session, we have a Parts of Parliament Building a Law, and this is aimed at our primary groups. This is all done through play learning. They engage in a game where they do some drawing or Pictionary, and they have to come up with, in little groups, what have they drawn? What does that represent about Parliament? So we show them our Speaker's chair to tell them about how Parliament sits and how they debate in that room. They then have these little characters that you'll see on the side of the screen, all these different objects that they have to work out what they mean. So you'll see there's 4 people there. That's meant to be the public taking part in the democratic law-making process. So how does Parliament make a law? A bill, an idea for a law is there as well. We've even got some of the leather that is used to make the seats of both the House of Commons and the House of Lords for the children to take part in and feel. Unfortunately, when you go onto the floor of the House, you can't actually sit down unless you are a member of Parliament or a Lord or Baroness. So it means that our young people visiting can actually get to touch a part of Parliament there. They've also got ping pong bats, as I don't know if you all know this, but part of the UK Parliament lawmaking process is that the bill moves between houses, between the House of Commons and the House of Lords, and this is called parliamentary ping pong. So that's to help them work out what that might be. And then in their groups, they try and work out together how a law is made. Luckily for them, laws are made in lots of different ways, so the order can change just a little bit, and it means that they can get really engaged, fully understand how the law is made, so hopefully as adults they know how they can impact that lawmaking process through voting or taking part in petitions as well. Our secondary school students, who are 11 to 16 years of age, take part in some facilitated engagement, and you'll see there on the screen some ideas for petitions that they have come up with. Anyone who is a UK citizen can pull a petition to the government through our online website, which is celebrating 10 years of existing. So as it's its 10-year anniversary, this is really exciting to have taking part. We get the young people to come up with their own ideas for what petitions they could come up with and what matters to them as young people. They can then upload this to our petitions website, and it might even take it through to changing the law. So we really want to encourage young people to feel like they have an impact on what is happening in this big building next to me. Our final session that we do with them on site is called Snap Election, and it's aimed at our post-16 audience, so 16 to 18-year-olds, with 18 generally being the age that most young people in the UK finish school. This is to get them thinking about what's important to them, but also how does a parliament create itself, which is through voting. They come up with their own manifestos. It gives us an idea of what things they think are important to them, giving us ideas in different legislative areas. This includes all post-16 audiences, which means our non-politics students can get involved as well. It also talks them through a bit of how parliamentary procedure works, because they have a little bit think about how government is held to account by Parliament, using all their own ideas to think and discuss and debate, as our Parliament do, on different ways that laws could be made, or different laws that could be made as well. At the Education Centre, we see around about 70,000 young people every year, and we have 21 schools visiting a day. So it's a very busy operation, and it means that we can see as many schools as we possibly can. In order to get those schools to come and visit us as well, we have a travel subsidy system where if you live further away, UK Parliament will support those young people to come and visit us to help pay for their coaches or travel costs as well, which means we get to see a diverse range of children and young people who maybe wouldn't have been able to come to UK Parliament before. It's going to go backwards slightly to our programming here. As I said, most of our programming is in person, which means we get to see young people coming and engaging with Parliament. It also means that when they come to UK Parliament, they can meet their Member of Parliament as well. Every constituent group that visits is invited to meet their MP is invited to meet them and have a Q&A. So when they come to Parliament, they can really engage in the elected member for their area and ask them lots of questions, mostly quite difficult questions as well. Or some really lovely ones like, who is your best friend where you work? But also asking them really tough questions on their local area, which gives them direct impact on UK Parliament. We really enjoy having young people in Parliament and getting to see them getting engaged and excited by what is going on around them. Thank you so much for having us join you. I hope that was interesting. And if there are any questions, please do let me know.
Thank you very much, dear Emma. Unfortunately, the event is designed in a way that we don't have time for questions and answers, but feel free, dear friends and colleagues, ask your questions in writing and we'll pass them over to who this question is addressed to. And we would like to mention that it would be great to have a chance to visit your visitor center in the UK Parliament or US Congress Visitor Center. At this point, I would like to give floor to Ms. Simone Jordan, advisor to the Department for Democratic Education in the Austrian Parliament. Experience of the Austrian Parliament is crucial for us, and we appreciate this opportunity to learn from Ms. Simone her information about their activity. Over to you, Ms. Simone.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you very much for letting me participate with you today. It's been very interesting also to hear from my colleagues from the other parliaments. Let me just share my screen with you. Go. Okay, I hope you can see this now. Okay. So yeah, thank you very much. My name again is Simone Jordan. I work for the Austrian Parliament, and today I would like to introduce you to one of our most prominent education activities at the Austrian Parliament. The Austrian Parliament has a number of education activities also at schools, addressing all different age groups, but the Democracy Workshop program is probably the most famous, so to say, because it takes place exactly at the place where laws are made in the Austrian Parliament. Yeah, so the Democracy Workshop program was actually created in 2007 when in Austria, the voting age was lowered from 18 to 16. And members of parliament, they realized, okay, we can't just expect every 16-year-old to jump at this as possibility to go and vote, but rather the parliament realized that it has a responsibility to also provide information, what parliament is, what parliament does, and to make it accessible. And the ultimate goal is really to move away from this expectation of the public to see parliament as a place for politicians, and rather to see it and to view it as a place for the citizens. So we invite school classes from the age of 18 until they leave school, until 18 or 19 years old, to participate in workshops. The workshops are free of charge to all schools from all over Austria. They also travel to the capital city. And we can hold up to currently 6 workshops per day, because the workshops actually last for 4 hours. They're interactive workshops, and to really be able to engage with every single student, we provide multiple trainers per workshop depending on the class sizes. So it's normally 3 to 4 trainers per workshop. And we also provide age-appropriate materials and topics. It's been really important for us to really make this accessible, make the topics accessible, and also the program accessible to a wide range of students. And what might be interesting also is to mention that in Austria, there is no such there is no subject of political education at schools. Rather, it's more like a educational principle. So in theory, every teacher should be talking about democracy and politics, regardless whether you're teaching art or maths or chemistry, which of course sometimes can be a little bit more challenging in some subjects than in others. But this also means that we do get maths teachers and chemistry teachers to visit our experience, simply because it's also like, because of the duration and because it's very interactive, it also lends itself to some, group building activities. I thought I'd share some photos with you so you get some impressions. You can see we really have access to all of the rooms, a lot of rooms in Parliament, that students can really get a feeling of, okay, this is also their house, these are the rooms where laws are made, and to really also get a sensory experience of this whole legislative process in Parliament, because it's one thing to hear about it, but it's another thing to really grasp it with all the other senses as well. You can also see on one of the photos students interviewing experts. As you'll see on my next slide, we do provide a number of different topics. We also invite experts because they are the best, they have direct experience on what it is like, for instance, to work as a journalist or to work as a member of Parliament. And we thought that was, important as well. So we do have a range of modules. For instance, we have a module where we invite members of Parliament to actively engage with the students and to answer questions that the students might have with regards to, what their role is in Parliament, because what the students see in the media or in the TV screens is only, a very small part of what actually MPs do on a day-to-day basis. We also have workshops on the European Union, also on it's called A Journey Through Time, where the message is that, in Austria, we haven't always had a democracy, and there are different systems as well of government, that democracy is also a process, and that really needs everyone to participate actively in the process. And then we also have 2 workshops on media. Now, we realized that media is a very fundamental aspect when it comes to participation, because ultimately, you learn about day-to-day politics through the media, and being able to engage also requires that you consume some kind of media. Now, that might be the traditional media that you're thinking of, newspaper, but also about social media, because a lot of the discourse, especially with regards to, we have elections in 2 weeks in Austria. A lot of discussions are going on online. So I think also to create the realization that, just a like on a post, adds to this social discourse. This is part of what we are discussing in the workshops dedicated to media and new media, what the role is of media in a democracy, but also what my own responsibility is. And then we also have the workshop participation, where it's all about highlighting different methods of participation in politics, but also in society. And from time to time, we also have other special occasions, such as when we have members of parliaments from other parliaments or speakers from other parliaments. They also participate in some of our workshops. Of course, since 2020, we also have online workshops, which, as my colleague before mentioned, it really has also made it possible for students from other, from further away to participate in our workshops. And often we also, they're also used as follow-up. So they might come to Parliament first to visit one of our workshops in Parliament, and then they will do another workshop online. Yeah, what are our objectives? As I've mentioned, of course, we want everyone, all the students, to know what Parliament is and what Parliament does. But there is much more to that. That is our goal, because ultimately, we really want students to participate. And as I've mentioned, to participate, media literacy is one of the fundamental aspects of the workshops, because not only is media a topic of the workshop, but also in the course of the workshop, the students actually create media products. So they create their own newspaper, they create their own podcast or a video, in which they can express, what they've learned, but also their formulate ideas or formulate opinions. And so self-articulation again is manifested in that, and of course it's also important to highlight diversity of opinion, but also diversity when it comes to where are you from, like who do you represent, also amongst parliamentarians. We're not all the same. We don't all have the same opinion, and that is one of the fundamental principles of democracy. Right. I thought I'd finish my presentation with participant feedback, because it's one thing me talking about it, but I think it's always interesting, how our thoughts, the team's thoughts, translate into the experiences of the students, and they're sometimes the same, sometimes not, and and it's really interesting also, and I think you can learn a lot and take away a lot from the participant feedback. In add to these feedbacks that I've put on the screen, one of the frequent actually feedbacks we get after workshops from where members of Parliament are participating is that the students, beforehand they are nervous to interact with the members of Parliament. They just they know these personalities from the TV, from the media, and then afterwards, they just say, oh, I was really nervous, but actually I just realized they are humans. And that is also what we want to communicate, because when we invite members of Parliament, we always invite two members. We invite one from a governing party, one from a opposition party, because that also highlights that members from different parties have different opinions, but they don't always fight, they don't shout at each other in front of the children. And it's also one takeaway from the children is that, okay, they're human and they can be nice to each other as well. So with that, I'd like to conclude. Thank you very much.
Дякую, величезне дякую. Насправді, надзвичайно воркшопи з демократії є, в принципі, одним з
Thank you very much. Democracy workshops are one of the most successful franchised products in this space on the European continent, and you may be the first ones to which we will disclose some information that we are conducting negotiations relations with the
Тож я
Austrian
впевнена, що
parliament
дуже
so
скоро
that
всі
we
ви
can
зможете стати
implement
їхніми учасниками.
democracy
Ми робимо
workshops
все
in
для цього від
Ukraine.
вас
I
залежне.
believe very
А чим
soon
ще
you'll be able
займається
to
освітній сектор?
participate in
Я
our
із
democracy
радістю
workshops
хочу
and
вам
will gladly
сьогодні
invite you. I would
презентувати,
like to
адже
present you
маю також за честь очолювати освітній центр
present you the
Верховної Ради
activity
України
of
і
the
розповісти,
educational
чим
center
ви
of the
займаєтеся.
Verkhovna Rada
Саме в
of
цьому році
Ukraine.
нам
I
виповнилося
am the
5
head of the
років. Ми
educational
відкрилися
center.
19
We were
липня
established 5 years
2019
ago
року.
on
І ви
the
в принципі за
19th
весь
of
цей час
July
ми собі не зволяємо
2019.
нашої
Over
місії
5
є
years,
просвіта молоді. Саме для вас, наші
we
молоді,
we are
амбітні,
pursuing
надзвичайні
our
державотворці роблять
mission
все для того,
to
щоб ви розуміли, як
facilitate the
працює парламент
development of
та як
young
функціонує
people,
держава,
youth
і
of
що для
Ukraine,
нас
so
найголовніше
that
в
young people
подальшому ставали
understand how the
частиною
parliament is
цих
working and
цього державотворення.
young
За
people
5 років, як
in
вже
the
сьогодні було
future will
неодноразово сказано,
become future
ми
members
провели
of
більше
parliament
ніж на
and
100 заходів, вже більше ніж
responsible
300
adults,
міських
responsible
учасників. Звичайно,
citizens.
після
We have
надзвичайних
conducted
чисел наших міжнародних партнерів
840
ми
events
виглядаємо
covering
дуже тихенько, скажімо так, але ми робимо
334,600
найкраще, і в умовах
participants.
пандемії
Of
наразі в умовах
course, it's
повномасштабного вторгнення
not
не
possible to
припиняємо
compare
ані
our
один нашу
statistics
роботу
with
для того, щоб
those
ставати
accomplishments
кращими.
that were demonstrated
Наша
by
основна
our
аудиторія,
peers,
звичайно, це ви, наші
educational centers in
шановні
the
школярі та
parliaments of
студенти, але,
the
звичайно,
US,
педагогічні
UK,
науковці,
and Austria, and
педагогічні
other
дорослі,
countries,
які
but we
бажають
are just
підвищити
beginners
рівень
and
обізнаності з
we
питань
are learning
парламентаризму
and
та
expanding
державотворення.
the scope of
Для
our
нас
coverage.
є
And
надзвичайною
participants of
цінністю, що
our
учасниками
events
наших уроків
are
є
i-
школярі, студенти
school
з
children
усіх
and the
куточків
university
нашої
students
країни. Ми
from
це
all
надзвичайно
regions
цінуємо.
of
І
our
сьогодні в
country.
чаті
We greatly
писали
appreciate it. Today,
абсолютно
somebody
різні
wrote in the
наші
chat box
надзвичайні міста нашої країни. Для нас це
that
дуже цінно. І сьогодні ми
there
зібрали
are
не лише всю Україну, але й
representatives
різні цілі
of different
континенти. Тож
cities of
супер, давайте дамо трошки
Ukraine
реакції в
participating
чаті
in
для того,
this
щоб
event.
привітати
And
один
I would
одного.
like
Ми
to
просто
suggest that we
надзвичайні з
show
вами. Для
appreciation
нас є
using
надзвичайною
reaction in Zoom to show how
приємністю, що
much we
учасниками,
appreciate
гостями,
that so many
спікерами
people
наших
from
уроків
so
дуже
different
часто
cities,
є
countries came
керівництво
to
Верховної Ради
our event
України. Це і
today.
голова Верховної Ради України Руслан
Head
Стефанчук,
of Speaker
перший
of the
заступник голови
Parliament
Олександр
Ruslan
Корнієнко і
Stefanchuk,
віце-спікерка Олена Кондратюк, за
Vice
звернення якої ми
Speaker
сьогодні мали
Mr.
змогу
Kornienko
переглянути.
and
Ну і,
Vice Speaker
звичайно, участь
Olena
народних
Kondratyuk,
депутатів України. За
who
5 років
gave a video
понад
address to
150
you
народних
at the
депутатів
beginning of
стали
our
активними
event. All
учасниками
of them
наших заходів.
support
Це і відкриті
activities
лекції,
of the
і воркшопи,
Educational
семінари.
Center.
Тож ми працюємо
More
з
than
ними дуже плідно,
150
пліч-о-пліч
MPs
вже
participated in
5
the events
років. Як ви
organized
можете
by the
побачити на
Educational
екрані,
Center.
статистика наших
As you
відвідувань,
can
вона
see,
різко почала зростати
statistics
з
of
початку
visits
повномасштабного вторгнення. Звичайно, для нас
to
є надзвичайно
educational
важливим
center
і цінним, що
changed
завдяки
over
Збройним
the
силам
few
України ми
years,
можемо
and
працювати щодня
thanks
для
to
вас,
the armed
дякувати
forces of Ukraine,
за
we
те,
can
що
work
ми
today
зможемо
on
жити
a
в цій
daily
країні і
basis
робити
for
все заради
you.
того, щоб ви,
Thanks
наше наступне
to
молоде
our
покоління,
brave
ставали
defenders who
у рулях, у керма нашої
who
держави,
resist
сьогодні
the
державної влади.
aggression
А ми вас
in
обов'язково
this
цьому
way,
навчимо.
enabling us to continue our
Якщо
activities.
говорити про
If
нові
we
проекти,
talk
які
about
започаткував
new
освітній центр,
projects
і
launched
чим
by
ми
the
насправді
Educational Center
стали
and what
цікавими і для наших міжнародних
makes
партнерів, то,
us
звичайно, розпочати
interesting
хочеться з
to
такого цікавого
our
проекту, як малюнкова дипломатія.
international
Ми
partners,
започаткували
I
спеціальний
would like
всеукраїнський
to
флешмоб, який
share
називався
with you
«Діти України
information
за мир».
about
Наші дітки з усіх куточків України надсилали нам малюнки, які в подальшому ставали
such
подарунками
activity as
для
picture diplomacy.
президентів,
Children were drawing
спікерів
pictures,
парламентів,
children
прем'єр-міністрів
from
різних
all
країн
over
світу.
Ukraine,
І
and
якщо серед
later on
вас
we
є
used those
юні,
pictures as
творчі,
gifts
круті
that
художники,
we
то, будь
would
ласка,
give to
надсилайте нам
presidents,
свої
prime
малюнки. Хто знає,
ministers,
можливо,
speakers of
саме ваш
parliaments.
малюнок дуже скоро
Send us
стане
your pictures,
презентом
dear
для
children. Who
наступної
knows, maybe in
міжнародної
the future
поїздки
it will
керівництва
become
нашого
the gift
парламенту. І одна
during
із
the
наших таких
international
великих
visits of the
є,
leadership of our
звичайно,
country.
коли наші
One of
малюнки,
major
малюнки
success
наших
stories is
учасників
when
нашого флешмобу
pictures,
потрапили до
drawings
Роберти
by
Мецоли, і
our
вона особисто
students
записувала
were
відеозвернення
delivered to
авторам
Roberta
малюнків.
Metsola,
І
and
коли наш малюнок було вручено президенту парламентської асамблеї Ради Європи Тіні Коксу,
And
і в подальшому цей
also
малюнок
Tini Cox
єдиної
received
авторки Бечі
gifts,
Скарпова
pictures
став
from school
пріоритетною
children,
листівкою у підтримку України в усьому світі.
and it was
Звичайно,
greatly
онлайн-урок.
appreciated.
Наразі з
Of
умов
course,
повномасштабного вторгнення ми не можемо так активно, на жаль, зустрічатися з вами в
during the
онлайні, але
full-scale
робимо це можливе для того,
invasion,
щоб
we
ви
cannot
отримали якісну
meet as often as we
парламентсько-громадянську
uh,
освіту в
wish
онлайн-режимі. І, до
in
речі,
the
саме в
offline
24-му
format.
році у
We
нас
conduct our
стався рік
activities
рекордів. І одним з таких рекордів стало те, що
in the
протягом
online
тижня
format,
учасниками
and
наших
actually last
онлайн-парламентських
year has
просвітніх уроків
become a
стало
record
більше
year
20
for
тисяч
us
учасників всього за
because
один тиждень. Але, в
in
принципі,
1 week we
24-й рік
managed to
став для нас
cover more
і
than
справді
20,000
роком
participants
рекордів.
of our
Адже
lessons.
спочатку ми думали,
And
що ми
actually,
проведемо маленький урок до Дня Соборності України, але
we
тоді
thought that
саме завдяки вам
we had plans to
було 9
conduct
тисяч
the
учасників, і
lesson
тоді ми
dedicated to the Day
шаленіли від
of
такої
Unity
кількості.
of Ukraine.
До других
And
роковин повномасштабного вторгнення, звичайно,
we received
щемливої дати
9,000
учасниками наших
applications,
уроків стало
and it
30
was
тисяч
a
школярів
really
студентів з
incredible
усієї
result for
України.
us.
І,
But
звичайно,
later on,
абсолютним
when we
рекордом
prepared a
став
lesson
урок до Дня
dedicated to the
Європи, коли ми
second
провели наш
anniversary
онлайн-захід
since
для
the outbreak of the
5000
full-scale
учасників
invasion,
одночасно. Що
we
вже наразі
received
абсолютний
about
рекорд, і для
20,000
нас є надзвичайним
applications
щастям, що
to
ми разом з
participate
вами
in our lesson. In
можемо
addition to
це
it,
робити.
we had another
Такі
extremely
уроки, до
popular
речі, вже
lesson
через тиждень
dedicated
ми
to the
приїдемо
Day
до
of Europe.
Магли, до Луцька, а
In a
вже в
few
наступному
days, we
місяці
are going to
завітаємо до
visit
Тернополя.
Lutsk.
Спільні уроки
We
це спеціальні
conduct on
заходи,
the
коли
side
фахівець
lessons,
приїжджає саме до
and
вас в місто
we
і протягом тижня
we
проводить
want
уроки
to
і в
make
школах,
sure
і в
that
університетах.
we
І
visit
наразі
you,
ми
we
охопили
conduct
11
lessons
областей і
at
провели
your
70
facilities. We have
презентацій для
covered
більше ніж
11
10 тисяч
regions
учасників.
and
І,
conducted
звичайно, одна з
events
наших великих
on the
мрій
site for
побувати
more than
виїзними уроками
10,000
абсолютно в кожному місті
participants,
нашої
school
країни.
children, and
Потихеньку ми
students. And
повертаємося
our
в
dream is
офлайн, і до
to
нас
visit
можна
every
завітати.
city
Ми
of
проводимо спеціальні
Ukraine with
офлайн-заходи в
our
Києві,
lessons.
в одній із
We
будівель
conduct
Верховної Ради України.
offline
Ви можете
lessons in one
записатися,
of
хто
the
знаходиться в
buildings
Києві або в найближчих містах, можете до
of the
нас
Verkhovna
приїхати,
Rada
і
of
ми для вас
Ukraine.
проведемо
You
спеціальний
can
урок. Вся інформація
actually
є у наших
visit
соціальних
us.
мережах, тож,
You
будь
can
ласка,
get information
завітайте
about
і
our
будемо раді
lessons,
вітати
announcements.
вас в центрі Верховної
Check
Ради
our
України в Києві
announcements and come
наживо.
to visit us
Курси
when you
протягом
can.
цих 2 років ми
During
провели
these
11 великих
years, we have
курсів, і тут я
conducted
хочу окремо
11
подякувати
large
Агенції розвитку освіти і
courses
політики
and
за
mini
те, що разом
courses.
з
At
ними ми
this point,
проводили
I would like
великі
to express our
масштабні курси
gratitude
з
to
громадянської та
the
парламентської освіти
Agency
для
of
школярів
Education
протягом
Policy
10
Development. Together with
занять, а це більше
you,
3
we have
місяців.
conducted large
Щотижня ми
courses
зустрічалися
that
з
would
нашими
last for
майбутніми
3 months.
державотворцями
We
і
had
навчали
weekly
їх
meetings,
основам
and we
парламентаризму та
would
демократії. У
teach
нас є
them
справжні
the
success stories
fundamentals of
таких уроків,
democracy
адже
and
по завершенню нашого курсу
parliamentarism.
я знаю, що троє
And
учасників
following the
стали
completion of our
президентами своїх
courses, I
шкіл.
know that
Також троє учасників стали членами
several
молодіжних
participants
парламентів
became
не лише
presidents
своєї
of their
школи, але
schools
й
or
міста та області.
student
Тож ми
councils
добровольці
in
знайдемо
their
всі
schools,
вам
and also
вперше
at the level
знадобляться для
of
підкорення
their
ваших
county, their
спочатку
district,
успішних оцінок, хто
region.
знає вершин,
So
коли ми
we
побачимо
believe
вас в
that the
парламенті,
knowledge
і
and
ви будете
skills
вже
will help
повністю
you to
готові для того,
develop
щоб ставати
will be
народними
extremely
депутатами України,
useful
чому я
as
також
you will be
дуже
becoming
щиро
members of
бажаю.
parliament in
Ну і
the
звичайно,
future.
це спеціальні
And
курси. Ми говоримо не лише про парламентаризм, ми хочемо бути
we
максимально для
conduct
вас
courses not only in the field of
відкритими і давати саме вам ту
parliamentarism. We
інформацію,
want to
яка вам
be
насправді
as
потрібна. І
open
саме
as
для вас
we
ми
could to
запровадили
share
спеціальні
with you the
курси з
information that you really
протидії
need.
дезінформації,
We
уроки для
introduced
видалу
courses
фейків для школярів і
to
також
count
правила інтернет-комунікації. Ми
misinformation,
відповідаємо на ваші
disinformation,
запити для того, щоб
fakes,
парламент
and
був максимально для
courses
вас завжди
dedicated to
відкритим.
communication. We
Ну
want to
що ж,
make sure the parliament is as
переходимо
open as
далі. Коли ми
possible.
говоримо
We
про
proceed
міжнародну
to the
співпрацю,
next
то
topic. When we
завдячуючи
talk
нашим
about
шановним
international
друзям та
cooperation,
партнерам, які сьогодні
thanks to our
розповідають про свій
friends
досвід
and
проведення
partners
парламентської просвіти,
from
але в
the
чомусь
parliaments
ми
of
Також можемо поділитися, чим
of
ми
the
придбали
US,
наших партнерів і
UK,
колег,
and
коли
Austria,
зустрічалися під час
we
стажування, під час
conducted a
можливої
lot of
зустрічі.
activities, and
І
there
так
is
насправді ми
something that
стимулювали
we
наших
impressed
колег
our
з
partners
британського
with.
парламенту тим,
We
що ми
visited
проводимо
the
масові
UK
уроки. Це
Parliament
для них
and
стало
we
такою
uh,
цікавинкою і новинкою.
shared
Якщо
with them
говорити про наших
information
партнерів
about
Сполучених Штатів, то ми
open parliamentary lessons,
проводимо
and
спільно певні
our partners
консультації
from the
щодо
United
проведення заходів
States,
залученням
we
парламентарів народних
inform
депутатів
them
України.
how we
З колегами з
conduct
Ізраїлю
the
говорили про те, як
sessions to
максимально
discuss
згуртовуватися під
important
різні
societal
цільові аудиторії,
concerns
під
together with members of parliament and the members of the
змінюючи нашу
public,
тематику наших
together with
заходів і
colleagues
кожен захід. Ну і звичайно, з
from
нашими
Israel. We
колегами з
discussed
Австрії
how we
говорили про
adapt
те, як ми проводимо
our
онлайн-уроки в укриттях під
curriculum
час
and the
повітряної
topics we
тривоги. Це
highlight.
також стало
We shared
певним
information about
здивуванням, але
how we
безумовно певного
conduct lessons
задоволення.
in
Робимо
the
все
bomb
для того, щоб
shelters. It was
працювати
very
в
surprising to
будь-яких
our peers
умовах та за
from
будь-яких
other
можливостей. Ну
educational
і
centers of
зазвичай
other
завжди
parliaments
говорять
in other
про
countries of the
плани.
world, but that is
Спочатку у
how we
нас
adapt
була
and
мрія.
how we
Тепер це
innovate
наш великий
to
план. І
continue
сьогодні ми
our
вперше говоримо про
activities.
це саме з вами, нашими юними
And
учасниками.
we would
Ми
like to
стоїмо
make
на
sure
порозі
you, as
відкриття
our
Центру
young
державності при Верховній Раді України.
students,
Ми робимо все
we
можливе для того, щоб дуже скоро
we would
свої
like to share
заявити
with you the
спеціальний
announcement
центр,
that
в
we are
якому ви
working
зможете дізнатися,
to
як
create the
функціонує наше
visitor
управління,
center
працює
to
Верховна
show
Рада
all the
України,
visitors, all the
і
citizens,
в принципі
how
інші
the
органи
parliament
державної
is
влади всіх
working and
рівнів,
how
дізнатися про
other
історію
government
становлення
bodies are
нашої
working.
державності. І
That
все
will
це
be
у Верховній Раді
extremely
України.
useful
Робимо все
for
можливе для того, щоб ставати
students
для вас
to get
відкритими
to
та
know
цікавими.
how
Тож
we
невеличкий
work,
спойлер.
how the
Дуже
parliament
скоро зможемо
operates,
вас
and
запросити на відкриття такого
very
центру.
soon
І,
we'll
звичайно,
be able
запрошуємо
to
наших
invite
міжнародних
you
колег завітати в
to the
Україну на
opening of
відкриття
this
такого центру.
center.
Ми
We
будемо
invite our
щасливі
international
також
colleagues
взаємодіяти і
to visit our
обмінятися
visitor
цікавим
center.
досвідом.
We'll
Ну
be
і на
happy
цьому
to
я буду
continue
завершувати. Дякую вам
exchanging
за
experience with
увагу.
you.
Я думаю,
At this
що
point, I will
досвід України
finish
також
my
був
presentation.
цікавий для
Thank you for
кожного
your
нашого
attention.
міжнародного
I
колеги.
hope that
А наразі
experience
ми
of Ukraine
переходимо
was
далі,
useful to our
адже ми
international
послухали
colleagues.
досвід цього
And
трьох
now
країн, ну і
we
звичайно України.
go to the
Але
next topic. We have
сьогодні нам
listened
потрібно
to
буде
experience
дослідження
of three
з
countries,
варіативністю
but
більше ніж
today
10
we
країн
are
світу.
going to
Тож
listen
для
to
наступного
the
нашого завершального блоку
presentation
нашої
of the
сьогоднішньої
results of
зустрічі
research
я хочу
dedicated to
запросити
study of
Людмилу
best
Паращенко,
practices from
голову
10
ЗОО Агентства
countries.
розвитку
I
освіти
would
України
like
та
to give
китайських
floor to
колег
Людмила
для
Parashchenko.
презентації
She is
результатів
the head
спеціального
of the
дослідження,
Agency
яке
of
мало назву
Educational
«Кращі
Policy
практики взаємодії
Development,
парламентів
and
світу з
she'll
людьми,
present the
з дітьми
research
та
best
молоддю». Тож,
practices
будь ласка.
in engaging with youth and children
Вітаю всіх,
on
шановні
behalf of the
учасники
parliaments of the
сьогоднішнього
countries of the
великого
world.
зібрання.
Hello,
Навчання
dear
демократії
participants of
є
this
ключовим напрямком роботи
very
Агенції
important
розвитку
event
освітньої
dedicated
політики, і
to
впродовж
the
останніх
International Day of
5 років
Democracy.
спільно з
Democratic
освітнім
fostering
центром
democratic
Верховної Ради
transformations
України ми
is the key
сконцентровуємося
area
на
of activities
парламентській
of
просвіті. І я рада
the
вітати на
Agency of
сьогоднішній
Education
події
Policy Development,
представників
and we dedicate
всеукраїнської
a
мережі
lot of time and our
осередків
efforts
парламентської
to
просвіти
developing
на базі
parliamentary
закладів
civic
освіти. Для
education.
нас було
And
надзвичайно
we
цікаво почути досвід взаємодії
we
парламенту, який сьогодні
appreciate very
презентували,
much
а
this
також
opportunity to
і
learn from
показати результати
educational centers or visitor
дослідження,
centers
як
of other
парламент
parliaments of
освіту
the world.
взаємодіють з
And
дітьми та молоддю.
today it will be a
Чому?
great
Тому що
opportunity to
навчити
present
демократії
our
можна
findings
тільки
upon
через
completion of the research
співдію.
dedicated to
Співдію молодого
engagement,
покоління,
to the way
кожної дитини,
parliaments engage
кожного
with the
учня
citizens.
з більш досвідченими дорослими і народними
And
депутатами, зокрема. Тому хочу передати
we
слово
we
для
develop
оприлюднення
programs
результатів цього дослідження
to ensure
експертам
engagement and
Агенції розвитку
involvement of
освітньої
members of
політики
parliament with
Іванюк
their voters. I
Ірині,
would like to give floor to
науковій
Irina
старшому науковому співробітнику
Ivanyuk, a
Інституту
senior
цифровізації
fellow
освіти
researcher
Національної
in the
академії педагогічних наук
Institute of
України,
Digital Transformation
заступниця
of
голови
Education in the National
Управління
Academy
Агенції
of
розвитку
Pedagogical
освітньої
Sciences of
політики,
Ukraine,
кандидат
and she
педагогічних
is the
наук,
deputy
часом
head of the
дослідник.
Agency of
Та
Education
Гриньовій
Policy
Марії,
Development.
завідувачці
I would
відділу
like to give
міжнародної
floor
співпраці
to
та трансферу
Marina
інновацій,
Grinyova Іванова, head of the department and senior professor of a philosophy chair in Odessa Academy of Continuous Education of Odessa Regional Council. Dear colleagues, please present the results of your research dedicated to the best practices of interaction between the parliaments of the world and youth and the school children. Hello, dear participants of our event. I would like to present the results of our research dedicated to the way parliaments engage with youth and the school children. Our research is made possible thanks to support from the United States Agency for International Development. Parliaments of countries of the world help and promote parliamentary civic education. And to that end, in the parliament, a lot of structural units are being established to facilitate this task. And we have studied best practices of the way parliaments engage with young people through experience of the US Congress, UK Parliament, Parliament of Austria, and other countries. And the objectives of the research are to analyze practical experience of interaction between the parliaments of different countries of the world and young people, considering the principles of inclusion for all people. And that we rely on the use of digital technologies, and one of the objectives of our research was to provide recommendations to the Parliament of Ukraine regarding the way the Parliament can involve young people. In the report, upon completion of our study, we present the case study of 12 parliaments of 12 countries of the world: Australia, Austria, Brazil, United Kingdom, India, Cayman Islands, Germany, New Zealand, Portugal, Finland, and France. And we pay your attention to the fact that it's 11 parliaments, 12 countries. In Australia, we studied 2 parliaments of 2 states, New Southern Wales. During the presentation, if we will present the findings that we made separately for 2 parliaments of 2 states in Australia, Queensland and New South Wales. We examined which entities take care of the parliamentary civic education. The key focus is analysis of and review of information in the format about activities in the format of new parliament, new youth parliament or youth parliament, parliament of young people. During the analytical review, we have conducted our analysis based on 3 criteria or dimensions: educational activities for children and youth, educational activities for educators, and resources. The information was divided into groups and categorized for each country. We analyzed target audiences, age of participants of educational courses and events, time period when the courses were conducted, format and duration, etc. Today, during our presentation, we have no time to present every activity separately for every
А зараз моя колега Марія Гриньова представить вам найбільш цікаві практики.
Of every country, we analyzed different practices and different activities, and my colleague will present them to you now. Dear participants of our event, before we proceed with review of best practices of engagement of young people to the activities of the parliament, we would like to mention that, as previous speakers have mentioned in their presentations, in the Ukrainian parliament as well as in parliaments of other countries of the world, there are opportunities created for young people to engage with the parliament, and that is helpful in order to understand, for young people to understand what processes are taking place in the political life of the country.
Узагальнено можна назвати молодіжний парламент.
And
За даними програми, є сприяння зацікавленості молоді в політичних процесах,
the
у вивченні
objectives
різних сфер і напрямків діяльності парламенту, а відтак розвитку
of
активної,
our
свідомої та відповідальної
research
громадянської позиції через активну взаємодію із
was to
парламентом.
study
Окрім того, метою
the
програми є
ways parliaments
підкреслення
engage with
важливості
youth.
внеску молоді у формування
We
державної
studied the
молодіжної
format
політики
of
і
work such as youth
участі
parliament.
у розв'язанні релевантних для молоді проблем. Аналіз досвіду 9 країн, а саме
We
Австрії,
reviewed
Бразилії,
experience
Нової
of 9
Зеландії,
countries
Фінської,
such
Індії,
as
Німеччини, Фінляндії,
Austria,
Франції,
Finland,
Португалії,
Brazil,
Кайманових островів,
India,
свідчить про те,
Germany,
що
New
кожна
Zealand,
країна має
Cayman
свій сценарій
Island.
реалізації
It
програми
showed us
молодіжний
that every
парламент.
country have their own approach
Тематика
to
проведення молодіжного
implementing
парламенту щороку
youth
обирається не
engagement
вас. Зазвичай
programs.
рішення щодо теми
Every year,
ухвалює парламент країни або організація-партнер, яка
Parliament
займається
of every
координацією
country
реалізації
or the
цієї
national
програми.
organization
Варто
that
звернути
implements
увагу на
youth
партисипативний
engagement
досвід
programs
Бразилії, оскільки
decides
для
on the
визначення теми молодіжного
topics
парламенту
to
молодь здійснює
address
спочатку
during the
дослідження реальних місцевих
educational
проблем,
events
пов'язаних
and
з національною
activities in
державною
the
політикою. А потім вже
current
під час
year.
засідання молодіжного парламенту молоді парламентарі шукають рішення для розв'язання тих проблем, які є актуальними для молоді.
Young students and school children
Якщо
are
говорити
trying
про
to put
організацію
shoes of the
молодіжного
members of
парламенту,
parliament
то
and
ця
try to
ініціатива потребує
resolve
значної
important
підготовки,
questions.
і основний етап проведення молодіжного парламенту у різних країнах відбувається по-різному. Так, це може бути імітація роботи парламенту під час розроблення, обговорення, ухвалення
Students may
законопроєктів,
imitate the
Австрії, Бразилії,
activities
Португалії,
that the
Німеччині, Франції,
parliament are
Кайманових
conducting
островах.
in
Також це може
Austria,
бути робота в
Brazil,
комітетах
Portugal,
парламенту,
Germany,
зокрема така практика
France.
є у
They
Львівській Ландії.
imitate
Це може бути пленарне засідання
the work
парламенту у
of
вигляді
the
усних
parliament.
запитань і відповідей до уряду, як це відбувається у Фінляндії, а також це може бути засідання молодіжного парламенту за
It
участі
may be
депутата
sitting
або
of the
спеціального
youth
гостя, яке
parliament with
проводиться не у
participation
стінах
of the member
парламенту,
of
а
parliament
у
or
школі чи іншому
some
закладі
other
освіти, який бере
guests.
участь
Such
у
events may be
програмі.
conducted at schools and other institutions.
Крім того, дуже цінним і важливим питанням, яке було нами піднято, це можливість реального впливу молодіжного парламенту на ухвалення політичних рішень на рівні країни. І тут варто звернутися до досвіду Франції, адже
It is
у
useful to
24
study
законодавчі
experience
пропозиції
of
дитячого
France
парламенту стали
because
законами
in France,
Республіки Франції.
4
Вважаю, що
legislative
ця успішна
proposals
практика
submitted by the youth parliament of
і має
France,
перспективи бути проваджено
and
і в інших країнах світу.
they
Водночас
were
вона
used
потребує
as a basis for
ретельної
adoption
підготовки
of
і
the law.
партисипативної залученості багатьох стейкхолдерів, зокрема і Верховної Ради України, і тих організацій-партнерів, які підтримували дітей і молодь у розробленні законопроєктів.
It
Якщо
is
говорити
very
про
important to
організацію
support
молодіжного
initiatives
парламенту, то окрім того, що безпосередньо цією
like I
ініціативою займаються
described.
парламенти, до організації залучаються державні установи і громадські
Not only
організації.
parliament and
Важливим
parliamentary
також є
units
аспект,
are
що всі
involved,
активності, які передбачаються в межах молодіжного парламенту, фінансуються парламентом через
and
землю, які
the initiatives,
організовують
youth
і
initiatives
здійснюють
are
цю
typically
програму.
funded by the parliaments of
Ще однією
the countries
поширеною,
that
можна сказати, що
implement
найбільш
such
поширеною формою взаємодії
activities.
парламентів з дітьми та молоддю є екскурсії в будівлях парламентів. Вони активно практикуються в багатьох країнах світу, зокрема в
This
Австралії,
is practiced in
Австрії,
many countries
Кайманових
of the world, in
островах,
particular in
Великобританії,
Austria,
Німеччині,
Australia,
Фінляндії,
Great
Франції.
Britain,
Особливу увагу
Germany, and Finland.
привертає різноманітність та
And attention can be
інклюзивність
paid to
екскурсій.
the
Наприклад, у
inclusion
парламенті
and
Австрії
the
проводяться
specificities of
екскурсії для людей з
those
вадами
trips.
слуху, що
For
ілюструє
example, in
розвиток
Austria, there are
демократії та
trips dedicated
парламентаризму
to
в країні.
people who have
Такі
problems
екскурсії
with ears, who
передбачають
have disability with
синхронний
ears.
переклад мовою жестів. Окрім того, можемо
There are
говорити
also
про те,
trips
що
that use
низка
the sign
екскурсій
language
пропонується
for
не лише
interpretation.
державною
A number
мовою,
of
але і
trips
англійською
include
мовою
other
і
languages,
іншими
not only the
мовами, для
national
того,
language,
щоб
including
бути
the English
максимально
language,
адаптивними до
for the
цільової
sake of
аудиторії закордонної,
adapting to
зокрема
the
гостей,
target
які час
language
від часу відвідують
of the
парламенти
target
тих
audience.
країн світу, які сайти яких
There
ми
are also
досліджували під
members
час
from the
нашого
countries
огляду.
whose sites we have researched
Враховуючи, що
during our
найкраще діти
overview.
навчаються під час
The
гри,
best
дієвою
place,
формою
the
охорони
best spot
співосвіти
for
є
learning for
освітні
children
активності, що
is
дозволяють у короткотривалий
playing
термін
the games,
змоделювати різні
and
процеси
there is
діяльності
the role
парламенту.
play,
Рольові та
which helps
симуляційні
to imitate
ігри
different processes in
проводяться
the
в
parliament.
парламентах Австралії,
Similar
Бразилії,
games
Німеччини,
are
Нової
conducted
Зеландії.
in the parliaments of
Наприклад,
Australia, New Zealand,
імміграційна програма
Brazil,
парламенту
and so
Нової
on.
Зеландії «Вибори»
For
дає
example, when
можливість
it comes to the
дізнатися
New
про
Zealand,
діяльність парламенту
you can
після
learn
виборів
about
і
the
передбачає
work of
практичну
parliament after the
інсценізацію
election.
відкриття парламенту, в якій
Uh,
учні розігрують ключові
Children
події, що
can
відбуваються
play the
після
key
виборів.
events happening
Зокрема,
after
це
the
виголошення
elections.
промови, прийняття
So this is
присяги
the speech,
та інші активності.
taking the oath and other
Ще
activities.
один із форматів
One of the
парламентської
other
просвіти – це
formats
освітній візит учнів до
is the
парламенту.
educational
Освітній
visit
візит
to the
учнів до
parliament
парламенту
on the
проводиться у
students' part.
комбінованому
It
форматі,
is
що
done in
включає
a
семінар
combined
з
format which
парламентської
includes
просвіти та
seminars
екскурсії в
on
будівлі парламенту.
parliamentary
І він є важливою
activity
формою
and
парламентської
also a
просвіти в
trip.
багатьох країн світу, діяльність яких ми досліджували.
It works
Тематика
across
тривалість
the
освітніх
countries
візитів
we have
різна,
researched.
орієнтована на певну вікову категорію
The time
відвідувачів.
is
Такі
different
заходи
and
проводяться
depends
у
on
освітніх
the age
центрах
group
парламентів
of
або
children.
уповноважені організації в будівлях
There are
парламентів Австрії,
organizations
Великобританії,
in
Німеччини,
Great Britain,
Австралії,
Germany,
Нової
Australia, and
Зеландії.
other
Варто
countries
відмітити, що
which
окрім
take
того,
part in
що
it. We also
такі
have
освітні
to
візити є
make a note that
адаптивними за
such
своїм змістом,
educational
вони також є
trips
і
can
адаптивними
be
за
adapted
інтерактивною складовою, в
and
залежності
can
від того,
include
якого
interactive
віку є
components
відвідувачі,
depending on the age
інтерактивні
of
активності
participants.
можуть бути
They can be
різними.
different.
Цікавим є досвід Нової Зеландії, який має програму
We can look at the
«Погляд на
experience of
будущее».
New
Мета
Zealand,
полягає у тому, щоб надати учням
the
розуміння
view on the
того, як
beehive.
медіа та парламент взаємодіють і як
We can
громадськість
look at
може
how the
дізнаватися
parliament
про те,
and
що щодня
the
відбувається у
civic society
парламенті.
work and how
Після
the civic
візиту до
society can learn
парламенту
about the
учасники матимуть
work of
можливість
the
створити
parliament.
програму
The
новин про
participants can
парламент у
create the
студії
news
медійних
program
компаній.
in
Ця
the
практика
media
свідчить
company.
про те,
This
що
practice is the
парламенти
sign
країн світу
that
взаємодіють
parliaments of
із
different
різними
countries in the world
стейкхолдерами, які
cooperate with
надають
different
певні
stakeholders,
освітні
which provide
можливості
them
для
with
посилення
different educational
заходів, які проводяться в межах
resources
парламентської
to
просвіти.
conduct programs as part of the parliamentary
Зустрічі з
education.
політиками та експертами,
Meeting
як
with
уже
politicians
сьогодні про це
and
говорили наші
experts, as
попередні спікерки,
our former
проводяться
speakers
офлайн
mentioned,
та онлайн,
can be
що
conducted
дозволяє дітям
offline
і
and
молоді
online,
напряму поставити
which
запитання
allows the
та
children
отримати
and youth
відповідь
to
від
ask questions
представників
directly
парламенту
and
та експертів з
learn
парламентської
what they
просвіти.
want from those
Завдяки таким
representatives.
діалогам з
Thanks
політиками
for
у дітей
such
формується
dialogues,
активна
the
громадянська
politicians
позиція, і такий
can
формат
help
роботи
the children to
практикується,
build
зокрема,
a
в
civic
Австрії,
stance.
Австралії,
This is
Великобританії.
practiced in
Дуже
Austria, Great
приємно
Britain,
називати ті країни,
and Wales.
колеги з яких сьогодні
It's
присутні
good we
на
have
нашій
the
зустрічі,
representatives of such
надають
countries today,
систематичну підтримку
and they
розвитку
help
освітньої
us with the systematic
діяльності нашого
approach
дослідження Центру Верховної Ради
at
України.
our center,
Окрім
our educational
зустрічей з
center
політиками та
at the
експертами,
Supreme
ще
Rada
однією
of Ukraine.
дієвою формою
There's one form which can be used. This is virtual tours, seminars, webinars. The platforms have online classes. This is an integral part of the parliamentary education. In Australia and New Zealand, there are interactive classes which agree with the curricula that are implemented in schools. There is a congruency of materials, activities, and parliamentary education. The online format of work with students is practiced in Austria, Australia and New Zealand, and of course in Ukraine, but this is our motherland. This is not abroad. When it comes to the self-education, there are a number of countries, Austria, Great Britain, Cayman Islands, and New Zealand use the technologies of AI and virtual reality. For example, when it comes to Austria and Great Britain and Cayman Islands, they have the website and they provide an opportunity to take part in virtual online tours, and students can use it with virtual reality technology. Also, we can pay attention to different forms of mass events, such as exhibitions, quizzes, festivals. They can be used to help the children and youth, in particular in Austria, Australia, and Great Britain. Apart from that, these activities are aimed at young children and students, but nonetheless, there are also activities aimed at families with parliamentary outreach, which is a good initiative which helps both adults and children to unite around the issues of parliamentarianism and democracy in the country. Parliamentary education for students in higher education institutions includes special courses for students, special guidebooks, different specializations, also internship in the parliament. We have the examples of Brazil and Australia. Based on the research, we can get down more closer to the propositions put forward by those parliaments of those respective countries. And our Ministry of Ukraine and Science can become the partner in developing this direction in the parliamentary outreach. There is also an opportunity to increase the competence of teachers. There is hybrid online formats, and attention can be paid to the development of the teachers in Great Britain and Australia. The pedagogues in Great Britain have a unique opportunity, which we had today. There can be ambassador teacher that can teach about the parliamentary education. When it comes to the parliamentary education, they have materials at the websites, at the respective websites. Also, they might have been created by the education centers, the websites of youth parliaments. For example, there is the website of Parliamentary Education of Australia. There is information on how the parliament works. This information is for children. And also there is information for teachers, which is related to the work of parliaments. There is video instruction on role games, online quizzes, interactive posters, and all the other kinds of resources. The website of the Resource Centre of the New Southern Wales in Australia offers quizzes, different sheets for play and other materials for children, which can be which are systematized by different rubrics. Online portal for children and youth. In Austria, there is information of all sorts, generational laws, photos, different quizzes about democracy, EU, the government forms. And when exploring this website, we can take part in different tactical activities. We can plan and construct laws The website of New Zealand has the rubrics for children and educators. There are different guidelines, different interactive tasks related to the work of parliamentarianism. The website of Great Britain has the menu skills where you can find different podcasts, templates, books, posters, and other resources, which can be useful for students and pedagogues who aim to implement this parliamentary education in their curricula. The Brazil website provides multimedia material about TV series, different guidebooks regarding the civic society and different games for adolescents from 7 to 14 years of age, also for teachers and parents as well. There is an option to split the categories by age, and this is typical. This option is available on most of the websites, as we've learned across our research. So the opportunity is at hand for children and teachers. They can learn and look into materials which most fit their needs. The youth portal of Bundestag includes information about the debates, the information about the topical questions, encyclopedic information about the Bundestag, as well as detailed information about educational activities suggested by the parliament. There is also the Portuguese website, which includes all the needed information about the organization of this program, as well as the results of the activity of the Youth Parliament each year. Anyone willing to join this initiative has an opportunity to familiarize themselves with how to do it. They can also learn about the influence of the Parliament on those relevant questions across the country. The Finnish website of the partner also offers information about how the program is arranged and adjusted, what the consequences might be of implementing this program. The website of the National Assembly of France in the menu juniors and games, there are different games and quizzes. The website also includes information about democracy and the activity of parliament, and this information is systematized by using certain case studies, which can be printed out and used when they are on their mobile tools to the cities and other settlements within the country and beyond. They can work and teach children on different matters related to the activity of the parliament in France. The website of the parliamentarian work in India includes information about the very organization representing this initiative, as well as the successful cases of the youth parliament that have happened recently. And finally, a short overview of successful practices of parliamentary education, enlightenment. The work of parliament in Ukraine, in particular, the education center and the centers of the respective countries we have researched, we can learn mutually. We can learn everything about democracy by means of active engagement with the parliament of our country. Before I pass the floor to my colleague, Irina, we would like to learn about the activities you're most interested in and the parliament of which country would you like to visit first. If you wish, you can text and chat, but now I pass the floor to Irina. Thank you, Maria. That's based on the overview of the foreign experience. We've researched the parliaments of 11 countries and the work on activity with children and youth.
побудована з урахуванням
Based on this
міжнародного
information,
досвіду.
our education center in Ukraine is in accordance with the international experience, international requirements, and so the education center successfully uses in its work all the means which you've seen today in the first block. In our report, according to each defined categories, we've set the guidelines after which could be implemented in Ukraine after analysis to expand the enlightenment work in those directions we are currently working upon. There are a couple of examples, the couple of activities I'm talking about. So educational activities for children and youth. We suggest that we implement new educational program, youth parliament. To this end, the Parliament in Ukraine has to make a decision and approve such a format, define the scope and the sources of funds, as well as the engagement of partners, because as we've seen from the presentation by Maria,
дуже багато проведення такого парламенту, молодіжного парламенту. Він може тривати
this parliament can
кількох годин до
last
днів.
from up to a couple of hours up to a couple of days. We can also, the next guideline, to found a youth council at the Supreme Council of Ukraine related to the questions of youth. We can also adapt the parliamentary education for children and youth with special educational needs while integrating the technologies to use up the access to the parliamentary education. It would be expedient to create a series of debates for the students of the high school on the topics which are on the important topics related to the social and political questions. We can also arrange a summer school for the high school students. We can also involve the experts on parliamentary education and politicians. We can also come up with courses for students, journalists, so we can talk more about and how to work with mass media and mass information. We can also create a platform for online voting on the topics to be discussed in the parliament. So we have to take into account the thoughts and opinions of the younger children while making decisions. Speaking of the educational activities for pedagogues, in contact with the Ministry of Science and Education of Ukraine, we can arrange a collaboration for the high school institutions to ensure the education for the future pedagogues, so we can expand the scope of such specialists. The experience from Great Britain about the ambassadors, teachers, is very impressive, as the head of the center mentioned, of the Supreme Council of Ukraine. There are negotiations taking place with the Parliament of Austria, so we can use the experience of workshops on democracy, as well as with the Parliament of Great Britain, so we can implement something similar to the program Ambassadors Teachers. We can also provide an opportunity to include in the educational institutions the qualification courses on parliamentary education by training the pedagogues across the high education institutions. When it comes to informational resources, outreach resources, we can recommend ensuring easy access across the website of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, so we can provide different methodical informational materials on the enlightenment. We can probably look at creating a digital library to include different kinds of information and resources related to parliamentary education. We can also continue creating short videos of the role of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine on how to settle different political and social matters. We can also create a mobile application or interactive platform to conduct virtual trips across the parliament with the assistance of virtual reality. As you see, there are 2 stars on this slide. 2 perspective options in Ukraine could be the facilitating of activity of deputies of Ukraine and the engagement of parents in the parliamentary activity. So it would be expedient to arrange regular events for the deputies related to the youth politics and the communication with children and youth. We can create a mentorship program which could make it possible for each deputy of Ukraine to teach one or several young leaders, helping to implement socially important disciplines at the local or national level. When it comes to parents, it is important to create informational materials for parents which could explain how to develop the critical understanding of democratic processes and the work of parliaments among children. You can also speak more about the enlightenment with parents. So all of these guidelines in our report, you may have a look at it because this is just a short outline, a short information. Our report will be published at the website of our agency. You can have a look at this. You will also see Gmail and phone number. So we are ready to listen to your suggestions. So we encourage you to provide feedback. Thank you. Thank you, Irina and Maria. I just want to add that apart from this research, which illustrates the diversity of cooperation of parliaments in the globe, it highlights how much work has been done by the Educational Center of Ukraine over the last couple of years, the last 5 years. This study is one of the number of education research conducted by the agency. So this parliamentary education was a key tool which teaches what democracy is. And unlike the presented experience by the Minister of Austria, we have curricula for the primary school, for the high school, high-profile school. There is a course on the basics of parliamentarianism and democracy. We understand how we influence. It includes the list of interactive methods and the elements of role games, virtual tour, and as mentioned by Olena today, we will continue with educating our pedagogues on how to teach parliamentary education. One of the important points as well is the involvement of youth by means of practical imitational games. Last year, we had imitation game on modeling the law-creating processes in the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine. And together with the specialists of the Education Center, we now look into an opportunity of expanding this game not only for the pilot centers of parliamentary education, but also across other educational institutions in Ukraine, because it is the young generation is the base, is the foundation which can ensure the development of democracy of
Дякуємо за увагу.
the democratic cause of Ukraine. So thank you for your attention.
Дякуємо, шановні колежанки, за
Thank you,
надзвичайно
dear
підготовлене
participants,
дослідження.
for this in-depth
Обов'язково
study.
будемо його додатково ще
We'll
вивчати і в
surely
освітньому центрі. Я
additionally
впевнена, що наші колеги,
study
народні
this,
депутати
and
України,
in the
комітети
educational center,
також
the
обов'язково
members, the
звернуть,
committees will
профільний комітет
sure
звернуть увагу на дане
look,
дослідження.
pay attention to
І,
this
звичайно, дякуємо
research,
за
and
рекомендації, в тому
obviously
числі
thank you for the
рекомендації освітнього
recommendations.
центру. Будемо брати до
Specifically,
уваги для того,
we
щоб
will be
ставати
taking into
кращими.
account
Ну і
these
окремо
recommendations
подяка
to get
нашим
better. And
учасникам за те,
additional
що були сьогодні з нами,
thank
і
you to the
нашим
participants,
друзям,
our
колегам з
friends
парламентів
from
Сполучених
the
Штатів
parliaments
Америки,
of the
Великої
United States of
Британії,
America, Great
Австрії за
Britain,
те, що
Austria.
представили ваш
Thank you
досвід, за
for
те, що ви є з
presenting
нами
your
до
experience.
самого кінця
Thank you for being
і
with us till
почули
the very
абсолютно
end.
весь шлях
And so
становлення
it was interesting
парламентської
to,
просвіти також і в Україні,
and so it was a
зокрема.
pleasure to share our information
Дякуємо всім.
from the parliamentary education
Парламентська
in Ukraine.
просвіта – це
Thank you, everyone.
цікаво, це
Parliamentary
круто.
education is
І,
something
звичайно,
very
парламентська
interesting and
просвіта –
cool.
це
And
те,
this
чим
is something
необхідно займатися,
which
починаючи
you
вже
have
із
to
молодшої
work with,
школи, для того,
starting from
аби
the primary
наша
school,
молодь, наше молоде
so our
наступне покоління
youth, our
розуміло
next
свою
generation
державу і
understands
розуміло свій парламент
their
і знало, як на нього
state and their
впливати,
parliament, and so they
і
know how
як в
to influence
подальшому
it
ставати
and how to
частиною
get
великих
the
державницьких
part
змін.
of the big
І на цьому ми будемо
state level
завершувати.
changes.
І
We
слава
will be
Україні!
finishing, and glory to
Героям
Ukraine,
слава!
glory to heroes.